I don't have swimming goggles. I couldn't find any other water props. You've definitely seen the cinematic pictures and the videos of those explorers on the depths of the oceans, exploring what the ocean has to give, and you want to know if you can do it yourself, and even if it's worth it. Yes, you want to know if it's worth it for you. Is it worth it? What is it like as a new person who's never done it before? How expensive it is? Let's just get started and answer those questions about scuba diving. Welcome to my channel where I take on different challenges and adventures. I tell you my personal thoughts and experiences, and I hope that encourages you to take on adventures yourself. Now, if that sounds like something that pops your corn, consider liking and subscribing, but let's talk about scuba diving. It's very important that I talk about which scuba diving because there are different kinds of experiences. You kind of have three routes that you can take on almost anything. There's the high class, expensive, high quality route that you go for where you're paying what you're getting for, but it is a lot of money. Then you've got the dollar store route. The cheapest thing just to get the experience. Kind of like if you're going to the dollar store just to get a cheap toy because you don't really care about the value of the toy. You just kind of want to have one. There's that. And then there's this sweet spot right in the middle, that Goldilocks zone where you don't have to pay that much, but you still get the experience. That is what we were able to get. A lot of times when you're looking at scuba diving experiences, you're gonna get these things where they teach you how to scuba dive, you get to go into the ocean, they give you the equipment, but it's usually very, very expensive. That can cost you up to $260 and even more per person in order to have this experience. We discovered this on Groupon. So instead of an institution, it was a single instructor that was doing this as a business. It was originally $90 for two people. We got it on sale for $60 for two people, which came to $30 per person to learn how to scuba dive. Then after the lesson, the instructor would allow us to go to the ocean and use our newfound skills to go into the ocean, which came to $50 per person. In order to find the right experience, let me tell you what we experienced, what we learned, what we did, and comparing it to these other expensive places in order for you to have an idea of which one you want to go and if it's worth it. And if you want that cheaper experience, how to find it. So I went with my girlfriend. Sorry, boys. The beginning experience was very funny. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. The sign-up process was not user-friendly at all. Let's just get that out of the way. Man, those are frustrating. But once I was done emailing back and forth with the instructor, figuring out when is the right day, it was very casual. It's just by email. It's almost like you're texting a buddy of saying, hey, this weekend work? Nah, busy, bro. What about next weekend? Sure, yeah. Very casual, which was a weird feeling because we're expecting this really high institution business because we don't know anything about scuba diving. We get to the instructor's location and it's just a house. It's just someone's house. So we don't even know if we got scammed or not. And then we go to the backyard and there's just a pool in the backyard. So we thought this guy was just gonna teach us snorkeling in the backyard inside a pool and call it scuba diving, but like good enough. I mean, either way, it only costs 30 bucks per person. So even if we just learn how to scuba dive in some guy's pool, that's fine. But then we met the instructor and all our worries washed away in the pool in his backyard. This is a great instructor who's SDI certified, scuba diving international. Means he's actually a real instructor, not some guy in the backyard with a trench coat trying to sell us watches. That is what you're looking for. He's an instructor that travels. He has this big truck that has all his equipment in it. Talking about tight wetsuit. I'm talking to those booties rocking everywhere. Got your flippers, your goggles. Then you've got the backpack with the weights in it, and you've got the air tubes, and you gotta fill that up. He's got everything in there. And turns out this pool was actually dug up really high up and there's a huge hole down on the bottom in order to experience the difference of levels. It's not just some dinky pool, it was specifically built for beginners like us. I was intimidating because you have this backpack with the weights on it, this huge air canister in your back, but the instructor walked us through it and then we finally got into the pool to start our lesson. And this is what we learned. First, you need to be a comfortable swimmer, not necessarily confident, but comfortable. This thing kind of like drags you back and it's weird swimming with this giant weight on your back that also wants to float and you try to fight it and I'm waving my arms and legs back and forth for about 10 minutes until I just relaxed and let it happen. We went through the basics such as your mask. So got my fancy mask. When it gets all foggy, how to clear it when you're underwater, puts a little bit of water in it, you hold it right at the tip and then you blow your nose as hard as you can. So if you have a lot of snotty boys in there, they're going all over your mask. Never go scuba diving when you're sick. Learn how to breathe with your apparatus. First time you use it, you definitely get that Darth Vader experience. And I don't know how many times he's heard that joke.
I
What happens if you lose it? What happens if you have all these cords? We went through all the safety things, losing your breathing apparatus, the malfunctions, why you always want to go scuba diving with another person. The last one is the buoyancy, boing, 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 was how to control your weight. Because the water has more pressure in the bottom, the weights and the backpack actually fills up with air. You have this little button that just puts air in and air out. You put less air to go down, and you put more air to go up. And that will control your buoyancy in order to stay afloat at a certain spot, and you just stay there without having to work on it. And if you're like floating in water, that's such a nice feeling. Almost like when you're on top of the water, just floating on your back, that kind of feeling. And you're like weightless in water, even though you have this huge suit on you, and you get to experience and look everything around. That was great. Such a weird feeling. Also, when you take the air out and you just start going down, and you will stop at one point, but it's an interesting feeling, but it was really, really fun. And the instructor was teaching all of this that we learned underwater, a little bit of brief explanation above the water, but underneath just hand signals and making sure we have good communication. The instructor did this and we freaked out thinking that we couldn't hear him and that was a bad thing. And you know, oh, can you hear me? But really he's talking about our ears needing to pop, and you just do the. After we learned all the basics, that's all you really needed, which was way easier. And then you get to go in the ocean. We learned this in the pool, we got comfortable, and then we could go and take this in the ocean. There is a huge difference of doing it in the ocean. This bucket list experience where you get to see the marine life, you get to be a part of this vast scale of the ocean. You get to see the bottom, the wildlife. It's a bucket list experience that was in our backyard the whole time. And unless you've experienced yourself, the best way to describe it is with pictures and videos of being able to see what it is like underneath the ocean. If we want to have an open water certificate, meaning we can just go and be certified to scuba dive outside with another person, but without needing this instructor, we could do that. It would cost about 800, 900 bucks per person, but they were having it on sale for 450 bucks per person. So if you saved up a lot of money and all you need to do is rent the equipment, you'll save so much money than doing these $200, $300 experiences. And that got me really excited. That was our experience, a very specific experience with one instructor. Let me tell you about the pros and cons of scuba diving in general. Let's start with the cons. Get out of here. It can be a short experience. If you just do this discovery course of the one that we did, it was less than an hour to learn everything. But depending on how long it takes you to get there, it's a little bit short of an experience. Inexpensive, but shorter. And it can be very expensive. You don't find that Goldilocks zone. Like I said, all these institutions, you get the value, but it's lots and lots of money. You might not be able to do it depending on where you are. And it can be very dangerous. You're dealing with marine life and you're dealing with the big blue ocean. She's relentless. She doesn't work around you. You have to work around her. Just the currents, the waves, even if your ears popping, there's so many more things that you have to do. It can be dangerous. And you do have to be a comfortable swimmer. Only a con because it's just limiting who can do it. It's not necessarily everyone can, but the pros, hey, get over here. It's a bucket list experience that you can definitely do in the ocean. And there's a reason why it is a bucket list experience, why so many people have this on their list of things to do. It's, if you enjoy snorkeling, it's like that, but going Super Saiyan. And the basics were a lot easier to learn than I thought it was going to be. Now, obviously there's way more to it, but the basics were a lot easier to get handle of than I thought it was going to be. Also have options to choose where you want to do this. If you get lucky like us with a single instructor, it was very cheap and we got that entire experience. It was just some guy in their backyard that lived close to the ocean. That was amazing. And it's a new skill that's amazing to do. That experience of being underwater. If you were a fish person, you are going to love that feeling of floating in the water, of exploring the water in the ocean and great mysteries. You're going to love it. All right, pros and cons, get out of here because we got to make room for my final thoughts. It is a bucket list experience that you can check off, which was great. It was right in our backyard because we live close to the ocean. It doesn't have to be done in the ocean, but there's a reason why most people do. But we got to check that off, and that's a great feeling because you never know when these bucket list experiences you're gonna ever do. If you're a fish, if you like exploring, if you like snorkeling, you're going to love this. And as I said many times, the basics were way easier to learn. It was so intimidating the first time when I wanted to start doing it. but it was a lot easier to start. And that made it very exciting. It's a new skill. That gets me really excited for the open water certificate to go scuba diving with me and my girlfriend together, only needing to rent the equipment. Just like outdoor rock climbing, should you try outdoor rock climbing as an adventure? It's the skills that we have learned, and now we can take those skills and take them almost anywhere and have this adventurous life in the mountains and now in the water. Don't know when we're gonna do this, but it's now on the list. And we're lucky that we found one that was cheaper, and we're gonna go back to this one because it's the cheapest one, but still getting the experience. You might not have that option, and it might be very expensive. I found this adventure on Groupon, so if you wanna save money yourself, I have links down below to Groupon as well as Airbnb experiences, which are the things I use the most to find new adventures. So that's my experience. What do you think? Have you tried it before? Have you gone scuba diving? Have you had a different experience that you'd like to share to everyone else that's different than what we experienced? Please leave comments down below or hit me up on social media, and I will see you at the next adventure.